Hey guys, welcome again to episode 4 of Birds of a Feather. I am your host, Michael Chromiak, Chrome, here as always with my fellow co-host and quite the man himself, uh, Charles Chucks Moranin. What's up, Charles? How you doing, brother?
What's going on, Chrome? It's been a busy week for us. Well, I can say past 24 hours, but it's good. It's going well.
Yeah, man, it's been a whirlwind. Even for me, it's been a super crazy week between going to Florida over the weekend for a quick little pop in, pop out, enjoy myself down at Disney and Universal. Coming back. I'm going to let you take a lot of the lead on this because you watched more of the game, unfortunately, because I was in Universal and all that stuff. I was in the air for a good portion of the first half of this game. But before we get into that, as promised the last week, uh, we did make an appearance last night on A2D Radio. And really, it was our first of what's going to be a number of appearances, as we had said last week. We have an announcement coming up, and it's fair to say that we can now officially announce that we're going to be joining A2D Radio, coming off of YouTube. I mean, we'll keep the channel around, maybe pop a few videos on every now and then. But we are going to be joining A2D Radio. Thank you to Tom Arnone, Greg Malakovic, Mikey from last night. They allowed us to join one of their flagship shows. The flagship show is actually Agree to Disagree, which is what A2D stands for. That's a Sunday night show. But we got to join another one of their primary shows last night, AM and the PM with Tom and Mike, and it was an awesome experience. We're looking forward to it. We're going to be taking Birds of a Feather there. And also for myself personally, because I'm going to be doing a wrestling show on there as well. It's a great station. They're growing their content. It's a lot of Philadelphia sports talk. They are very knowledgeable guys, as is my man here, Charles. And we're going to be bringing a different dynamic. So you'll see us posting a lot of their videos, a lot of their pictures and different things. Because the content they put out is awesome. A lot of good things. But Charles, just real quick, let me know how excited you are. I know you're very excited. I am as well. Let's kind of just let me know about your experience. Obviously, they had a 2.5 hour show last night. We thought we were going to get like a 20-minute segment each, and we ended up being on. You did the whole first half of the show, and I did the whole second half. But tell me about it, man. Let me know how was your experience with your first appearance last night on A2D, and really just kind of hoping that we can get their audience familiar with us.
Well, first, I do want to say thank you to Tom and Greg and Mike for having us on last night. It was a blast. Like I had so much fun being on there and just talking sports, talking Eagles with them. And I do want to thank everyone that listened into the show, whether it be live or if they caught it, the rebroadcast of it that's online on Facebook or on YouTube, or anyone that's just been following us and support us, family, friends. Like honestly, it's we haven't been online for a very long time. Maybe it's been like 4 weeks. We we're very new at this, especially me. I've never been done anything like this before. I have no prior experience of radio broadcasting or even live broadcasting in any way, shape, or form. But it's been a lot of fun these past 4 weeks, just talking sports and having all you people that do listen, however many of you that do, just being with us and taking the time out of your day to honestly just hear us out, hear our opinions, and just be part of our conversation, whether it be in Birds of a Feather or last night's show. It was great to just be on there and talk to those guys. Those guys really are smart. They know what they're talking about. And what I loved about it was that they were very welcoming first. Like I was very nervous. I don't know if anyone could tell. I was very nervous being on there right from the get go, and I probably I still am nervous being on camera and whatnot. But I'm settling in, and those guys are very welcoming. They're very supportive. They give us constructive criticism and feedback, pointers and advice going forward on how we can improve ourselves and our show and our content going forward, which is awesome to hear. You know, there are no agendas with them, and they make us feel like we're already welcome part of the company, and they're the way they have everything set up, their content that they continuously put out. Like they put out a lot of things on a daily basis. And if those of us who are friends, those of you who are friends with us on Facebook and Twitter or all over, you've seen me and Chrome constantly post some of their stuff, comment on their stuff, like their posts. There's so much stuff that they talk about, not just football and Eagles, but with every sport. And it's great to see that they're that much involved with everything. And I'm very impressed, and I was very excited. I am very excited to be a part of them now, and have our weekly show, Birds of a Feather show, now every Tuesday at 8 o'clock. It's a good thing that we have that set time, and so all of because I know we've been inconsistent with show times each week. We have it different days, different times, depending on availability. But now that we have a set time for that show, it'll be easier for you guys to keep up, and be a part of it, the broadcast and everything. So thank you to everyone. Honestly, this is just the beginning. We will continue to make everything better, improve ourselves, improve our show, our content, everything else, and we want to just continue to grow with you. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you said a lot of it. The vibe that they give off, it's just phenomenal. I mean, if you're not familiar with them, get familiar with them, guys. This is kind of the new wave of sports talk. It's A2D radio, but primarily it's social media. They broadcast on YouTube. They broadcast on Facebook Live. Their website is now being kind of reconstructed, but once they get that up and going, you'll be able to watch it on there. I do believe, and don't quote me, I'm not quoting them 100%, but I do think there's visions of having us on the station in general in a podcast form, to have audio. There's a lot of really great things that are kind of that they're doing. And honestly, I mean, they put out a video this week of, I guess, a scuffle at the Eagles game, and it got picked up by 3 nationally syndicated sports websites. It was their Instagram feed that was picked up. So they're already making a name, and it's early on. They're building a following very quickly. And what I think that our fans, or just the people that we know, knowing the people that we know, it's different. There's a studio, but it's set up to where, it's like being a fly on the wall, listening to guys talk about sports. It's the way it should be. There's no, like you said, no agendas. It is a family environment working with these guys. And as you said, they've been very welcoming, positive and negative criticism, not no knocks. It's just stuff to work on. I was obviously nervous a little bit too in the beginning. Charles did the first half where it was primarily Eagles talk. I did the second half where we got into Sixers, because they do all sports. But they're growing their content. There's visions of maybe a soccer show. They have a hockey show. Again, they're bringing on a wrestling show. I'm going to be the first one to break that cherry. So it's very exciting. I definitely encourage everybody to please check them out. And not even, I know you're friends of us or fans of us, not just our show. Check out the other shows. They're phenomenal. These guys are very seasoned in what they do. And it was such a fun time last night. It really was. And, for us, it's a whole different platform. I do have a little bit of the broadcasting experience as far as YouTube and podcasts go. But this is going to be a whole different monster. It's a studio produced show. We're taking a big jump in a very quick period of time. It's really appreciated that they have that much faith in us and what we're going to be able to bring to the table. Other things I do want to throw out in regards to that, if you're somebody who is a business owner, if you're somebody who's looking to advertise for yourself, this is going to be a really good opportunity for you. I can truly say I see like this being the next wave of what a WIP type of thing is going to be. And it's a good time to get in early. If you're interested or you have friends that are interested in advertising and trying to expand opportunities for their business to grow as well with us, please contact myself, contact Charles. We do have information and advertising packages that we can help set you guys up with. At the current time, we have a few hits potentially, but each show does have a sponsor. We're looking for an official sponsor for our show as well. So again, whether you want to be a show sponsor, a studio sponsor, just get a couple spots in, please feel free to reach out to us, and we're happy to help kind of set you guys up. And again, thanks to Birds of a Feather, the group that we're fortunate enough to kind of start, which really got the ball rolling, has given us so much wonderful conversation over the years, and we are going to continue that group. I think we're going to bunch that group in with the already existing kind of groups and outlets that A2D has, and we're going to expand that group as well. So thank you guys, and thanks to my family and friends as well. So quite a few of you guys jumped on last night, participated actively throughout the entire show, whether I was on camera or not, which I love because I didn't want it to just be, hey, I want to see Michael. And same thing with Charles. I mean, we really appreciated everybody taking an interest in it, and we appreciate a lot of the support that we're already getting, and I know the support we're going to be getting going forward. But tentatively, our start date, we are going to appear on their show again, not next week, but the following Wednesday. I believe it's the 9th. Do you have that date?
Yeah, it will be the 9th, which is a Thursday.
Okay.
Thursday the 9th will be on AM and the PM again, with Tom, Mike, and Greg. And then our debut show for Birds of a Feather will be on the 14th of November. That is right before. No, it is the week leading up to the Eagles-Cowboys game. So it's going to be a good week for us to get to hit the ground running and get a lot of this good conversation and hype going for that game.
Yeah, barring any setbacks, obviously that's the target date we're shooting for that. If you are a wrestling fan, I'm targeting mid-December to start that show. That's going to be a Thursday night show. I believe at 8 p.m. It might be 9 p.m. I have to check. But that's going to be a Thursday night show as well. So again, guys, thank you very much. Please stay tuned. And in the meantime, we're still going to continue to do our YouTube show right up to that point. But we are going to make another appearance on A2D with AM and the PM. That's going to be an awesome experience again. And, normally they're a Wednesday night show. Due to some vacations, they're moving it to a Thursday night, considering I think right now I don't know if they have any Thursday content. So check us out. That being said, and again, so much excitement going into it. But let's shift gears and let's get back to the matter at hand. Eagles and Redskins, Monday Night Football. Eagles improved to 6-1. Redskins fall to 3-3, tied with Dallas for number 2 in the division. This was a huge game, Charles. This game gave us the cushion that we need. And considering a lot of what we're going to go over this in the breakdown, but considering a lot of the circumstances that happened throughout the game, I think that cushion is so important now. One thing that we didn't talk about last night, we may have touched on A2D, which, by the way, we have shared. And if you get a chance, please check the show out, particularly the first hour if you want to hear Eagles talk. This team could be 7-0 right now. Obviously, that Kansas City game was at hand. Now, they didn't close it out. At that point, we weren't 100% sure what we had. But it just goes to show you the place that this team is in now, and some of the things that are going forward, some of the losses that we suffered that we're going to go over this week. That cushion is so important to us as far as going forward, trying to close out the division. I know that you were excited. We want to get in right away. Let's start talking Carson Wentz. Let's get your breakdown, Charles, on how you felt Carson fared this week.
Well, it goes without saying, as you've already heard plenty of times probably from all the other recap shows out there, Carson Wentz balled on Monday night. Again, for the third straight game, he put up, I'm pretty sure the third straight game, he put up 300-plus passing yards. Today, that game, he put up 44 touchdowns, too, to go with that. And the one interception he had was just pretty much a punt. It was the first possession of the game. We were backed up on our goal line, and we had
4 straight penalties.
4 straight penalties. I mean, it was Pete
Brutal.
Morelli all over again. I felt like Pete Morelli gave a call to Ed Hochuli and was like, "Hey, do it like this." I don't know, but that interception, I don't really. It is what it is. You're backed up on the goal line.
I think it was what? It was 1st and 33 before they even ran a play because of those 4 penalties.
Yeah.
First and 33 on the goal, well, essentially on the goal line. It was insane, and honestly, at that point in the game too, it was early. The momentum was not in our favor. That was a really pivotal point. Pivotal. Geez, I can't talk today, Charles. So much going on and excitement. It was a really pivotal point in that game to start, and there was concern early. And I know from Birds of a Feather in the group, there was a lot of concern going into that early.
Yeah, I agree, man. It didn't look good from the start, and Carson Wentz though he came out and there are 4 plays that I want to pretty much just highlight real quick. First, the 64-yard touchdown pass to Hollins. That pass traveled 62 air yards, which is the most in the league for any pass. That's incredible. He's got legit arm strength, guys. He can throw the ball down the field. Not like that's breaking news, but I'm just saying, 62 air yards. Mike Vick would be proud.
Mikey Vick, my man.
The 46-yard pass to Ertz, where he was streaking down the middle of the field on it looked like kind of like a post route. That was one of the prettiest passes you're going to see from Wentz, honestly. And this is what I hate. Like the broadcast view doesn't do that pass the justice, because on the broadcast view you don't see just how tight of a window he threw that in, but also you don't see the beauty of how accurate that pass was. He led Ertz open on that throw, and it was absolutely, you couldn't have thrown it any better. And it was just a thing of beauty. So if you have a chance, try to look up footage from the Sky Cam or whatnot, because in that view you get to see just how good that pass was. His touchdown pass to Clement. I don't understand how you have, I think it was Mason Foster, right in his face. Like literally, he cannot step into that throw. He's just chucking it to a spot where Clement can get it, and it's a wobbler. It's not a spiral, but what do you expect from when you have Mason Foster about to tackle you? The thing is, it was right on the money. I don't understand how. And then by Clement, the great job by Clement to catch that ball, had 2 feet in bounds. Like Clement knew. Like, I thought originally it was a wheel route, and I said that last night on the show. But looking back at the play, it wasn't. And actually, it was Clement ran just out in the flat first, and then when he saw Wentz in trouble, he knew he had area in the end zone, so he just turned it upfield. Wentz threw right in that spot where only Clement can get it, and it was beautiful, thing of beauty. And then of course you have Wentz's Houdini run, where everyone thought it was done. Everyone thought it was a sack, and all the announcers.
Even the announcer, the call on that was fantastic. They're like, "Hey," and Wentz goes, "No, he's not. There he goes. How did he do that?" It was amazing. I love that call. And some of the other calls that people put out with like different kind of commentary that people like created for it, absolutely amazing.
It was great. Mel Reese's call on the radio, and what's his name? The one that does the Monday Night Football broadcast, McDonough or something. I can't remember his name still. But his call was perfect. The way he called it. And so that was unbelievable. I had one of my friends is a Redskins fan, of course, and he comments on the video of the play that I posted on Facebook, and he comments, I don't think it's that impressive of a run. Only one Redskin player has a hand on him, and everyone else is just surrounding him.
Sorry for your buddy, but your buddy's an asshat and he's a hater.
Yeah,
Your buddy is
he
a
really
real dumb
he
guy to
really is.
not be impressed with that.
Yeah, it's you have to just be a biased hater or a fan of another team that just can't see. You're trying to just discredit Wentz. No matter what, no matter which team those players were on, they were still mammoth of bodies surrounding Wentz, and he was wrapped up. Whether it was one hand, two hand, he was wrapped up and he was surrounded. He looked like he was about to go down, but that strength that he has, that balance he has, he fought through it, and out of the pile, he just came out of nowhere. Like everyone was shocked. You cannot say that wasn't just an incredible play because it was. So Wentz, I don't know. Each week, I don't know how he does some of the things he does. And it's not just the wow plays. Like people, you have to recognize and realize that the pre-snap reads and adjustments he's making, it's unbelievable. He's checking out of plays. Like I heard I think Greg Cosell say in his tape breakdown, who's great by the way. He's worked for NFL Films, absolutely wonderful. Like it's like Pearson is giving him just formations to run out there, and then he's leaving Wentz with the responsibility of reading the defense and then making the play at the line to adjust to it, and he's making the right adjustments, and that cannot go unstated. That's a huge part that the casual fan, won't see because it's not part of the actual play. But you have to realize that it's stuff like that that made Peyton Manning great. That is making Carson Wentz great. When you're able to see what the defense is doing, and then put your offensive players and skill players in the right position to make an even better play. That's so crucial, and that's a big reason why he's been successful. So you can't overlook that. Like watch, like if you haven't been watching it from here on out, I'm telling you, look at what he's doing. You don't even have to know what plays he's calling out of because no one really knows except for the team, the players, coaching staff. No one knows the exact plays. But you see him when he sees the defense showing stuff like zone, man, blitz, anything. He checks it and he adjusts the play. And it works more often than not. It's working, especially on third down. So just stuff to keep an eye on going forward. Wentz is doing amazing stuff. So I can't even. I'm at a loss for words. I was practically speechless after Monday night's game when it came to Carson Wentz. I'm running out of words to describe him, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you said it. Carson was flat out balling. I mean, that was an MVP caliber performance. Anybody who has any hate to say about that run or anything about that performance is a schmuck. Plain and simple. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. The dude is a freaking schmuck. Or girl, if it's somebody, I don't care who it is, they're schmucks. Carson, one of my critiques was throwing the long ball. I felt like his targets were on point. I felt like if a ball seemed to be off target, it's because he was placing that ball there to avoid the defense. You said it. I really feel like these divisional games are so important. And we've now taken out Washington twice. We're 3-0 in the division. That's so huge. And we still have more divisional games, another 3 to wrap up the end of the season. And they're very tough matchups. So to have that cushion, A, in the overall record, B, to have that record within the division, with the way that Carson's playing, it's so there's no way to truly put how important that it's been. I agree with you. I think Doug's faith in Carson is so evident. He's such a smart, intelligent quarterback. He knows what his limitations are as a physical football player. He's not the fastest guy, but he has such quick feet, quick cuts. He knows when his opportunities are. He extends plays, which is so huge in this offense. And I'm really, I can't say enough about Carson. He is playing MVP caliber football this season. And, with some of the things that have happened over the last couple of weeks, as far as guys out, which we'll dive into, his level of play has been so crucial to keeping us in these ball games, and not just keeping us in these ball games, like handily moving down the field. It's almost like he moves us down the field at will. And You talk about, listen, I always love number 5. I will. I'll always love number 5. Where's he at over here?
Number 5 will
Yeah.
always love you.
I'll always love 5. I think he gets a lot of heat. Yeah, he threw some balls into the ground, whatever. And I don't think he was good at clock management, but I think that was also the head coach. I'm really impressed, and it's been a long time since I've seen a football team manage the clock the way that they have. I mean, you can argue Chip Kelly with the way he managed it, but he wore the offense down too much to the point where the defense was on the field so much that they were worn down. It wasn't a well-balanced attack, but to see the way that this team, knowing that it's a system that branches off of an Andy Reid kind of a style offense, and to see what we wanted to see when Andy was here, which is clock management, it's so refreshing. And it's refreshing to have a quarterback. The only guys you really see who are making those kind of audibles and changing the plays at the line are guys of the caliber of a Tom Brady, of a Drew Brees, of an Aaron Rodgers. And there's not many that you're seeing doing that. He's the next wave to me of the next great quarterbacks in the NFL. This year, it's debatable where he places in that top 5, but hands down to me, the season he's having easily is a top 5 quarterback at this moment right now. And you talked about Hollins, just to branch off of that. And last night we had a lot of conversation. Well, you had a lot of conversation in regards to Alshon Jeffrey and his place. And so I don't want to dive too deep into that. But what I will say, I think it's tough. I don't care if it's a 1-year deal where he's at now, and possibly you could sign him cheaper if he doesn't have that breakout kind of a streak in him. But there's an argument to be had, and it's going to be interesting to see as the season goes on. If Hollins can emerge as like the deep threat, you're talking about guys like Torrey Smith. As great as Torrey, I think, has been in the locker room, there's an argument to be had that this guy's ready to step in and take Torrey Smith's spot right away. I mean, he's so quick down the field. He's a big wide receiver. I think in a lot of ways, he's a faster version of Jordan Matthews with better hands. I think his skill set was very similar coming in. But again, I think we talked about this early in the year before we started actually doing the show. I've looked at him as being a guy who is Jordan Matthews with a much higher ceiling, much younger, better hands, and he's much quicker to me. I think he's a faster wide receiver. I definitely could see this guy stepping in and taking Torrey Smith's spot. And if that's the case, I still think you need to bring back a guy like Alshon. And I think that if he can emerge next to Torrey Smith as a deep threat, that's going to open up more opportunities for Alshon as well.
Yeah, with Hollins, I like it. That's a good comparison, actually. A faster Jordan Matthews. I wouldn't debate that. My comparison, I would say, would be like a poor man's Mike Evans, who is a good deep threat, great hands, better at running after the catch than you would think. Not the best quickness or lateral agility. Can't really juke someone out or anything, but great hands and can beat you down the field. And his route running is getting better. From what I've seen on the tape, he's improving each week. He's still got to learn how to not round out his routes a little bit. But my hope for Hollins is pretty high. Like I think his ceiling for me is a pretty reliable number 2. And if not, like definitely a very, very good number 3 guy who can move around either in the slot or on the outside.
I totally agree with that, by the way.
What's up?
I said I totally agree with that.
Oh, yeah.
A good number 2, definitely, I think an above average number 3, as in a year or two. I don't think we're there, obviously, yet. But a year or two from now, we might be talking about on this team, he's going to be a number 3 probably regardless. But I think you're looking at this guy as he is definitely a talent that you're going to develop over the next year or two.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think that not yet. He still has a lot to learn. I wouldn't say that he should overtake Torrey right away. I think Torrey still adds a good deep element, Like you said, I think it's more of like, here's the thing about the offense and the scheme, and I was going to get into this later, but we'll touch on it now since we're kind of into it. Um, this the way this offense is molding, there's no true like bona fide top top wide receiver. Like your top target, obviously, right now for Wentz is Ertz, and then he likes Aguilar out of the slot as well. And so he likes targeting that middle of the field. And Doug Peterson is doing a great job at scheming up ways to get them open. Moving around the formation, getting the right mismatches on a linebacker and safety. So that's great job by Peterson. I think also you have to realize that with Alshon, he is, and this is what I've seen from the tape with Alshon. And I know this is not going to be a popular opinion. I'm going to get a lot of people calling me stupid or crazy and not know what I'm talking about. But Alshon is not playing like a top tier wide receiver right now. That's just the truth. He's not playing like he was in Chicago. I've seen from what I've seen from his tape in Chicago and what I'm seeing now so far, especially against the Redskins, he's not the same. Could that improve? Could he maybe get out of that and start to show more flashes down the line when it comes to later in the season? Yeah, it's definitely possible because he's shown it before, and he's not an old guy. He's not old by any means. So it's definitely possible. I'm hoping for it. I want that to happen. But right now, when we're talking after week 7 of the season, he's not playing like a top tier wide receiver. Is he playing? Here's the difference, though. Is he playing like a starting X receiver? Yes, he is. He's a player, and the difference is he an elite talent right now, or even a top 10 talent? No, but is he someone you can put at the X position? And face bump and run coverage by the opponent's top defensive back, and draw mismatches here and there, and get those tough balls in the end zone, be a threat in the red zone, and be the guy that Carson Wentz can kind of go to when he needs to just chuck it up and throw a 50-50 ball, which he doesn't throw a lot, which something that Mike brought up last night, which is a great point. He doesn't throw 50-50 balls a lot, but if he needs to, Alshon can go up and get it. I still, he hasn't shown it much this season, but I still believe in that talent. It's there. I've seen it more often than not from Alshon. So I think that part is just a chemistry thing. But is Alshon a top tier wide receiver right now? No. He's a good starting X receiver for you, where you can put at that X position. And when it comes down to it, I have no regrets over signing Alshon. I said that weeks ago when we started. I'm saying it now. I'm going to say it all season. No regrets over signing Alshon. He brought in a good mentality and culture into this wide receiver group. He helped teach and coach Aguilar along to get confidence back in him, and he's proving as again a threat on the outside. You can stick Alshon there and Torrey Smith on the other side and have Aguilar concentrate in the slot. So all the positive effects Alshon has coming has on this team is definitely true. I agree. My issue is, and my only argument is, when it comes time for the end of the season and it comes time to decide, are we re-signing Alshon to an extension or not? I would sign him if the price is right. However, if Alshon is still going to look for top tier wide receiver money, 17 million, 15 million, maybe even anything above that, that's where I am very hesitant to give him that kind of money, because we know that's what he's looking for. That's what he was looking for. If he wants that kind of money, I don't think, if I'm the Eagles, if I'm Howie Roseman, and if he plays out the same way he's been playing now, I don't think I give that to him. But if he's willing to take a bit of a discount, have a little bit of a cheaper contract, cheaper deal with bonuses, incentives in there, whereas if he gets to certain goals during the season, reaches 1,000 yards, certain touchdowns, then he gets bonuses along with them. That'd be a great contract. I would love to have that type of contract for him. But to flat out give him a big contract with 15 plus mil, I'm the way he's playing now, I wouldn't give him that. And that's my only argument is this team is successful, so it makes it look like I'm nitpicking here. But I'm just saying you got looking further down the line after this season, you have to realize that Alshon just hasn't looked like that top tier wide receiver. So don't be so. It's not an automatic thing where the Eagles should pay him whatever he wants. And
Oh,
for
I
Alshon,
totally disagree because this guy's never going to take it. You can say all this, and he doesn't need to take a discounted deal because if we don't give it to him, somebody else is. This year, he's going to be a top 2 or 3 free agent wide receiver regardless. This is the guy that you need to sign. They need to bring him back in. Barring a super tanking where he just turns to absolute liquid shit for the rest of the year, I think you've seen enough from this guy. I'm not saying max this guy out, but 14, 15 million, if that's what it takes to sign him, you bring him back. There's going to be no better options out there. There's no internal candidates that are going to be better options. We're not drafting a wide receiver. So at this point, it just seems nonsensical to me to not bring him back. I think he's shown enough. And another year with Carson, I think, would just show that much more. I mean, he's still a young enough guy that he's going to be very productive for another 1, 2, 3 years. So I definitely think that you bring this guy back. The only way I could see if he takes less money is if he gets more guaranteed money. So we'll see. It's an interesting debate to have. I know you guys were very heated in that conversation last night. And I'm sure that we're going to be obviously monitoring that and checking on that. But I've been encouraged. He's still catching touchdown passes. I agree with you. I'd like to see more 50-50 balls thrown up there. Just say, Alshon, go and get it. We haven't seen a lot of that. But, I mean, if that's not Carson's MO, it's not his MO. I don't necessarily put that on him. It's more of a Carson thing. I don't know if that's a chemistry thing or it's just not something. I think maybe Carson's just confident enough that he's going to place the ball where it needs to be and he doesn't throw a 50-50 pass. I don't know. But I hear what you're saying. I just don't see – I think it's clear that there's not going to be any better options. And you're going to have to spend money. I mean, that's just that's the gist of it. If we're going to continue to keep up and continue to progress and have that, I mean, I don't see any better wide receivers that are going to be available next year. And he's going to be a guy that's going to be a year and know the offense. So I will say it right now. I absolutely think that he's going to be re-signed and bought back. There's no question in my mind. I'll give it a 99.98% chance. I'll give you a 0.02 that he's not back next year. The 0.02 is either 0.01 is liquid shit, 0.01 the other part is if he suffers a major injury.
I mean, I can,
which isn't out of the realm of a possibility with him.
No, I mean, honestly, I'm fine with them signing Alshon. Like, it's just, for me, it's about the money. And I get what you're saying. Like, there's no other options out there. But we have to wait and see how the rest of the season plays out. It's not something where I'm concrete in my stance now. Like I said, got to see how it plays out and how he play and if he steps it up later on. I think that you have to also consider the fact that we don't have a lot of cap space, and we have to.
I don't worry about cap space because Howie's the Houdini of cap space.
Howie is a genius with the cap space. I get it. The thing is, he's not the only one that we have to consider resigning. We have people like Timmy Jernigan and Nigel Bradham who are in the last year of their contracts. I personally, I think that I would put a priority on those two before Alshon the way they're all playing. That's just me, but it's just something to consider. I don't want to get too heated into a debate because it's still only halfway through the season, not even. It's a conversation to have at the end of the season. It's just something that was brought up and something that I did notice. And I think people, Eagles fans, have to just pump the brakes and not be so like automatic when it comes to Alshon, because you have to really look at it and say, is the money worth it? That's all I'm saying. But like I said, it's just let's talk about it and have a deeper conversation later on. That's when you can really, state your opinions about, and you can have a more concrete opinion about what are we going to do with Alshon.
Yeah, so let's move on now. Obviously, big news was the two huge injuries this week. Obviously, one on defense, one on offense. Let's start with Hicks. Obviously, that was what, a game, one play into the game. It was the first play of the game. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah.
I
One
missed
play into
it.
the game.
So I was, I went back and watched the play. I thought it was the first game play of the game. Um, Huge injury. It's going to leave a big hole in the middle. What do you think? Where do we go? Let's just mention the injuries, because I think if we're talking about if we're going to go free agency, of who's available, if we're going to do trades to try to fill these voids, or internally, they're going to tie in together, because at some point you're going to have to prioritize which one's more important that you're going to spend money on and which one you're going to try to develop here. So then we have Jason Peters. Obviously, Jason Peters also goes out, torn ACL, torn MCL. This one hurt my feelings big time. I love Jason Peters. The guy's such a leader on the field. Even when he's being carted off the field, he's still calling guys over. And it wasn't just a "hey, I'm okay" kind of deal. The guy's still giving, he's still being a leader and giving direction as he's getting strapped up to be let off the field. His role in this organization, not just on the defense, but the organization as a whole, is so well, maybe it's not. I think it's understated, because he's just been such a pivotal point of this team through over the last however many years he's been here. How do you feel? Where do you feel like we go? Let's just have the same conversation with both of them. Where are you spending the money? Where are you? Are we spending money? Are we seeking trades out? Are we using the depth that we have and trying to develop, using the opportunity because of the cushion that we have and the other pieces in place? Are we giving a young guy an opportunity to step in and try to fill that role? Where do you feel like the direction we should be going is with each injury?
So with the Hicks injury, that's my number one concern coming into the season was the linebacker depth, not the secondary, not the running backs. It was the linebacker depth, and now it's starting to rear its ugly head. Uh, it didn't help that Kendricks was a late decision to be held out, inactive. And so that really put us on a hole. You could tell the beginning of the game, the Redskins, they were beating our defense because they were using play action and run pass option to bait those linebackers, and they were just getting beat left and right. The Chris Thompson touchdown, that was Najee Good. Najee Good just flat out blew that coverage to Chris Thompson. I don't know how you leave him wide open in the flat, but that's something that is the big issue. And with Peters, the thing was with Peters is, in terms of both of them, Peters' injury is the more significant one because he is more important to our success than I'd say Hicks is. And I'm not trying to take away anything from Hicks. He is one of the most talented young linebackers, but he also has had already a history of being injured. So the team's already kind of accustomed to playing without him. But with Peters, you're talking about the heart and soul of the team. And I talked about it in my latest blog post. I talked about the injuries and people stepping up and how that's going to be key for the rest of the year. So if you haven't read that, just check it out. I put all my thoughts into there. But pretty much, I think what we have to do when it comes to the linebacker position, if we're going to trade for anyone, I think it should be at the linebacker position. I don't think we are going to pull any moves at the trade deadline, because if we do, to get someone, we're gonna have to trade draft picks. We already don't have any day 2 picks, and so Howie is going to want to trade back into day 2 and trade back into rounds 2 and 3, and he's going to need all those day 3 picks we have in order to do so. And giving even one up is going to be really tough for Howie to do. So if we do somehow pull off a trade, I think it should be for the linebacker position. But what I see happening is the Eagles just trying to make do with what they have right now. It doesn't really instill any confidence in me. But like I said, that's what my biggest worry was. It was the linebacker depth. It's just that right now I don't see any other options we could put out there. So I think that you're going to see a lot more dime packages now, where Jenkins comes in as a linebacker, and Graham is the safety up top with McLeod. You're gonna and every other game this season, well, up until this previous game, the Eagles played I think 13 snaps at dime. In this game alone, we played 8. So there was a significant change in that scheme by Schwartz to say, hey, we need help at the linebacker. So Jenkins, you're going to start to see him play in the box more as that pseudo linebacker. So keep an eye out for that. And then when it comes to Peters, you have to keep Big V in there. He looks more comfortable at the left side than he does on the right side. And you don't make two problems out of just one. You don't move Lane Johnson, who struggled at the left side. You don't move him to the left side and put Big V on the right side and have and downgrade both spots in doing so. I had a stat last night where it showed that Lane Johnson ranks number 1 in NFL in the least amount of snaps where it gets help, where he gets chip blocks and he gets double teams to help him out. So most of the time, I think it was close to like 84% of the time, he's on an island by himself taking on those pass rushers. Leave him there. Don't fix what's not broken. All right? Put Big V at the left side. He did more than hold his own against the Redskins. He did very, very well anchoring that left side. And so will he fully replace Peters? No. Like, no one can replace Peters. But can he be satisfactory? Can he be adequate? Yeah, I think he can. I think he's showed in film where he looks more confident now than from last year. So I think that that's what we have to do when it comes to those injuries. Kind of just got to go forward with what we have, and everyone has to step up. That next man up has to come in and just be better and fill in for those guys. And the team defense as a whole has to not show the weaknesses there. They have to do it's on Schwartz to scheme in a way where we can hide that weakness, and then it's up to that O-line to gel together and play well together as a unit going forward, just as they have up until this point.
Yeah, I mean, you hit on most of it. You don't move Lane Johnson. That's for one. You keep Lane where he's at. I think it might have been you who coined it as, he's an island of himself essentially on that left side. You do not move Lane Johnson, or I'm sorry, on the right side. I agree. I think Big V, Vaitai, I think he stays. He's a young guy. Listen, he was drafted last year in the 5th round. This guy, at this point, I think there's enough of a makeup on this on this offense to where they can compensate. I do still think that we have a really good offensive line. I think we have one of the best offensive lines of football. It's going to hurt. Obviously, having one of the best tackles in the history, really, or at least of the last 20 years out. But I do believe that you stick with the status quo of where we're at right now as far as their middle linebacker is going to be interesting. I mean, you do have options. You can move Kendricks inside. I'm going to be interested to see where they go, but this is the position that if they were to make a move, I apologize for the music in the background. If they were to make a move, this is the position I think that I could see, whether it's free agency, whether it's trade. Maybe more likely free agency. Take a flyer on a guy who's, out of the league right now for whatever reason. So we'll see. But they're devastating. It's devastating injuries, and it's crazy with these Achilles injuries. How many of these are coming up? And it's, before it was ACLs and MCLs, and now you're turning around and it's like every time you turn around, there's a major Achilles tear. I don't know if it's like something in these freaking cleats or whatever it is. It's crazy to me how, and if you really look at every year, baseball, Tommy John was like a big thing, and then you turn around and Achilles injuries are things that are happening there. Look at a guy like Ryan Howard and a guy like Adam Wainwright, who same thing. These guys tore their Achilles. It's something that is it's almost like an epidemic going through sports, and then it's a major injury. A lot of guys don't come back the same way after that. Yeah, and I don't care how many, I don't care how long you sit out, if it's a year and a half, 2 years. Most guys who I've seen who have suffered that injury in whatever sport that they're in have never came back to play at the same level that they were at. They just, that foot that you have that injury, you just don't have drop that, and then the strength that you had previously. So it concerns me with Hicks. And he's a young guy. I would hate to see an injury like this, and I'm hoping because he's young that his body's able to heal quicker or heal more effectively. Because, I mean, it is true, as the older your body gets, the more difficult it is, for yourself to ever really heal back to 100% or close to. But I'm concerned for him. And the fact that, he's been I don't want to say glass, but he's been close to it as far as, he's been a difficult guy to keep on the field to begin with. It concerns me going forward to see, how this guy's recovery is going to go. So, for me, I just, I want to send my well wishes out to both of them, Jason Peters and Jordan Hicks. We've had a lot of season-ending injuries already at this point. Maragos, I think essentially Sidney Jones, it wasn't with us, but I don't see them bringing him back this year. I don't see the benefit to bring him back. So to me, whether it's with us or not, it's a season-ending injury that he has. There's a lot of guys that we're going to be missing. On the flip side, fortunately, we may be getting a couple of guys back. I don't know about this week, but I think definitely within the next couple of weeks or we talked about it last night. Maybe you hold them out until Dallas because of that cushion we have. But it looks like we may be getting Darby back soon, which is huge. We got Peterson back already. I'm really encouraged to see that the secondary is now getting healthy again. But it goes this without saying, obviously, for a team as successful as we have been, and I had stated earlier, Carson's play is so monumental in where we're at now because of the fact that we're suffering these major injuries. We're going to need to have that edge and somewhere where it's going to, pick and lift up. I think you can play Vaitai. I think Big V, give the kid a chance. Throw him in there and say, listen, give him 2 weeks. If he's not good to go within a week or two or maybe by the bye week, then you figure it out. You go out and you sign somebody, whatever you have to do. Obviously, it's going to be after the trade deadline. Go out and sign somebody. Take a flyer on a veteran who's out of the league. And see what you have. But I'm very it was a tough week as far as those injuries go. That's 2 major injuries to 2 key positions on the field. You essentially have your captain on the field on the defense, the guy who's right in the middle of the field, calling a lot of the plays on defense. So we'll see. Anything you want to add on before we move on from that?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on. I forgot to mention earlier. Another reason why you don't move Lane over to the left side is because a lot of the premier pass rushers that we have coming up, Miller and everyone else, they line up in front of the right tackle. Now, the argument is defenses, they move their pass rushers all along the line, and that's true. Thing is, also, not only is it an adjustment for anyone switching from right tackle to left tackle and vice versa, but it also is an adjustment for defensive players that primarily play on that side to go on the other side too. And if they're going to line up Von Miller, say, on across from Big V, now, but Von Miller has to face those double teams, those chip blocks, because Big V is going to get help, not Lane Johnson. So you have the defense now has to decide, okay, are you going to, if you keep Lane at the right side and Big V on the left, the defense has to decide now, are they going to put their pass rusher across from Lane Johnson one-on-one, where Lane Johnson's been doing really well, or are you going to put him on the other side across from Big V, where he's going to get double teamed? So it's not as simple as, the defense is going to move him over to the other side and it's going to be fine. It's an adjustment for them too. So that just another argument as to why you keep Lane at the right side and Big V on the left. And I did read that today that is what they're doing. So the discussion is pretty much over. It is what it is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I agree with that decision. Let's move on. Before we do, I'm just going to mention the ones that you jotted down because to me, there's no other options for this game. You gave your churros out, and I'm just going to piggyback on you. I usually like to have a different talking point, but to me, it's clear Carson Wentz is your churro for offense and Malcolm Jenkins on defense. I think both guys stepped up and were the highlights on the respective sides. So I don't really think we need to talk about that too much. We can move on with them. We've talked so much about Carson. Malcolm Jenkins, I mean, he's a true leader on the field. He does remind me so much of Brian Dawkins when he was here. I really appreciate having this guy on our team to lead our defense. So we're just going to move on from that. Let's get into the division. Another thing, the only mention the Giants are going to get is that they finally won a game. That's it. I really don't think at this point we need to talk about.
That was 2 weeks ago. That wasn't even this past week.
So. Oh, you're right. See, I'm so friggin' thrown off because I missed everything this week. Jesus. Well, there you go. Then they're not even worth a mention. But really, unless the Giants are playing are they playing a divisional game this week?
No.
Yeah, so they're not even worth mentioning. I didn't even look at the schedule. I'm still catching up, Charles. Redskins, we kind of talked a lot about everything with them. A couple great points that you put on here, but why don't you throw them out there? One thing I'm going to say, I know you're going to get into Pryor. I know I talked to you about that, so I'm actually going to take that one. It's amazing to me. This kid in Cleveland, of all places in Cleveland, he was so good. He stinks. He absolutely stinks on this team, and he has a good quarterback. I don't understand it because, I mean, maybe there's going to be some heat for this, but I am actually a fan of Kirk Cousins and the way he plays the game. And I think he's do I think he's a top 5 quarterback? Absolutely not. Do I think he's arguably in a top 12 quarterback? A guy who's in that mid-tier, very consistent, keeps his team in ball games and makes smart decisions with the football? Absolutely. Do I think that he would be a guy that would win more football games if he was in another organization? Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and listen, that is it's on, I know we're getting into the 49ers next, but that is absolutely a destination with a young team that's up and coming that I can absolutely see him going to, being the anchor of that offense and really helping that team to take a burst forward and develop very quickly. But
real quick, just because we're on that, just imagine the 49ers with the pieces they have now. You add Kirk Cousins in free agency, and then you go out and you draft Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, it'd be ridiculous. Their offense right there.
How much does that do for that team? So just real quick, just adding in there, because I'm kind of hoping that happens because I like the 49ers. They were my team as a kid when I first started watching football, so I always root for them. I kind of want to see that happen. I want them to get Cousins, and then I want them to get Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, can we say now? I mean, I'm okay with saying this. Let's root for the Giants to win some football games, not just in the division, because I don't want them to get that top in those top 3, 4, 5 picks.
I'm fine with that.
I'm totally fine with rooting for the Giants to win football games going forward this season because to me it's a benefit if they win because they're not. I don't want to see them end up with Barkley. So
I agree. That's my nightmare. That is my nightmare. For Barkley to go to the Giants, that right now is my nightmare. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's root for them. Maybe we will keep tabs on them, and hopefully they'll get some good matchups so we can get some wins. But Terrell Pryor, I mean, you even marked it down. I didn't realize that. I know he didn't play a lot, but I didn't realize he didn't even come into the game until the fourth quarter, which is insane to me. This kid, I mean, he was one of the top free agents out there, wide receiver. He was rumored to potentially be going to the Eagles. In fact, it looked like the Eagles were potentially going to sign him, and then I think I read that he thought he was possibly going to be finishing up and closing a deal with the Eagles, and then the Eagles were kind of just like, hey, buddy, thanks a lot, but we're not interested. And then that day or the day after, they ended up announcing the Jeffrey signing. And now you turn around and look at – I mean, what a fall from grace going to a team. I thought he was going to be great in Washington. I thought that having Kirk Cousins to throw to, I think I thought that with the running backs, the running game that they have, and again, I mean, look at guys like Perine. Perine to me is a disappointment too on that offense. Shane Perine, and now we're looking at where they're at now, and he's an absolute non-factor. And what did he sign a 1-year deal as well?
Who?
Pryor, was he 2 years?
Pryor is, oh God, I can't remember. I think it's 1 year.
I think he's a
But I
1-year
could be
deal.
wrong. I could be totally wrong. I'd have to look that up.
Yeah. But I mean, for a guy that I really thought was going to step in and kind of anchor the passing game with Kirk Cousins on that team,
That
terrible.
like I told you in the car. It is because when it comes down to it, is because it's a different scheme, and Pryor really hasn't improved as a wide receiver.
But it's not even that. Like, you're seeing this guy drop footballs he shouldn't be dropping.
Oh, that's
things that were automatic right in his hands. He's dropping balls that are put right into his hands by Kirk Cousins. It's brutal to watch.
The thing is, he had issues with drops last season too. Then you compound that with the fact that his timing with Kirk Cousins isn't there.
Got a better quarterback throwing to him though.
It's not on. The thing is, that's not on Cousins. That's on Pryor because
right. That's what I agree.
As a wide receiver, like in the West Coast offense, timing of your routes is pivotal. It's pivotal. So if Pryor isn't working on that in his game, like, okay, I don't want to say he's not working on it, but if that's an area of his game that's not improving, this offensive scheme is not for him because Cousins can't trust him to be in the spot where he needs him to be. That's what it comes down to. Like, Pryor hasn't improved in his areas where he needed to improve from last season.
Well, considering it's a West Coast offense, and I agree with you, seeing what his production and the way that he is running his routes in the West Coast offense, I kind of wanted him in the offseason. I'm really glad that we did not sign him.
Amen.
And I'm so glad that Alshon fell into our lap because, I mean, again, you don't know what the dynamic with him and Carson would have been. Maybe it would have been an improved thing and he would have been awesome. But I agree with you. Kind of seeing how he's handling that West Coast offense, and he's not running great routes. He's dropping balls. I think for him now at this point, it's starting to get between the ears too. It's a confidence thing. You know, we saw it with Aguilar for 2 years. You know, once it gets in your head, you know, you have no confidence. You start to lag a little bit when you're running the routes because, you know, is your ability good enough that you're going to be able to, you know, make these plays? And it's really I don't want to say it's disappointing because he's on a rival team, but I like to see good players play well, or at least not be complete absolute shit the next year. And that's what he's turned in. I just am really surprised. That's what, not disappointment. I'm just shocked. I didn't see it coming as bad as he's been this year.
No, I hear you. And I'm right there with you. I wanted him too. I don't say I wanted him, but I was willing to take him in as a free agent. I would have been happy with it, but we dodged the bullet. Definitely dodged the bullet.
Now we got, obviously next up we have Dallas. Dallas just got done crushing our opponent coming up for this week, the 49ers, who I will say I don't think this was an indication for the 49ers of how they're playing, and we'll get into that momentarily. But I think it was 40-10. Zeke went crazy in this game. Couple great points that you put out here. You put the Dak's improving, and their pass rush production is increasing. So why don't you kind of dive into those points for us?
Yeah, I was going into the season. I've said it before. Dak has, I predicted a regression for Dak this season, and early on in the season, it was true. His quote unquote rookie mistakes that were masked last year were creeping up in the beginning of the year, and you saw it. Inaccuracy issues, stuff with footwork that Tom brought up last night. And just he wasn't as crisp in his throws, and he just wasn't as far along in his progression and development as, say, a Carson Wentz was, which is fine because he was still playing really well. But over the last, looking at this past game and the game before that, he's actually played very, very well. He's starting to fix those issues. So I don't want Dallas Cowboys fans to think that just because I think Wentz is better than Dak, that I think Dak is bad. No, that's not the case. Dak, I'm willing to say, Dak is improving the past couple of games, and I think that's what we can expect from him going forward is him to continue to improve because he's showing that he is. And I think Dak is still a very, very good quarterback. Very good quarterback. So if the real test, though, is coming up. If Zeke gets suspended those 6 games, and we've been saying it, if he gets suspended, that's the real test. Because without Zeke, we get to really see if Dak is the type of quarterback that can really carry the load of the offense. Because no matter what your argument is, that offense right now goes through Zeke. It's run through Zeke. It's not run through Dak. So if Zeke is not there, narrative goes onto Dak and whether or not he can carry that Cowboys team. So that's the real test. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Zeke after this week because he's eligible to play this week. And after that, that's when the decision is going to come. And for the 500th time, the decision on his suspension is going to come. So we'll see what happens. But Cowboys, that could be like the kickstart that they needed to kind of get back on track this season. That's a good butt whooping on a bad team to get their confidence going. I am still worried about the Cowboys because I know how deadly their offense can be, and now that they're starting to get pass rush production, and Sean Lee is healthy right now, that could change any game. But right now he is healthy. The defense is not horrible. The secondary is bad, but that front seven can still, you know, still do work. So the Cowboys are still a team that I wouldn't overlook just yet.
Yeah, no, and I agree. And again, that's why I've been harping over and over, whether it's on here or just personally to you, the cushion is so important that what we have right now. The NFL, everything can change at the drop of a dime. So, they seem to be getting healthier and we're getting more hurt too, which is a huge thing. But with that, let's move on. Let's get to the preview of this week's game. Just to kind of run it down, you have, obviously Darby is limited. I don't think there's been a decision on him yet. I think we both agree he's probably not likely to play this week. I think the significant return for us this week is going to be Michael Kendricks. And really at a time where we really need him to come back in. So, real quick, this is a team that I look at that has a very good young defense. I think they're still finding their way. Obviously, it's clear offensively. From what I've seen from the 49ers this year, their defense has been very good. They have no wins, but I mean, they could have won quite a few of these games that they've played this year. Very tight games against very good football teams, or at least perceived football teams, maybe underachieving a bit this year. But I think there's a lot to be encouraged for if you are a 49er fan. And again, I really like the young defense that they have. I think they've drafted really well. And the offense is going to be what it's going to be this year until next year when Kirk Cousins signs there. So, quickly, where do you feel, or how do you feel about this week? Give me your feelings this week on the matchup against the 49ers. Do you have a score prediction? Where are you at this week?
So as I said earlier, I still follow the Niners. I still root for them. So I'm very familiar with this team. You're right. Their defense has shown flashes of being really good. Their front seven, it could be lethal in a year or two. DeForest Buckner is already one of the top interior defensive linemen in the league. He's his wingspan and his height and length is unreal. So he's a stud. And then you have Solomon Thomas, the rookie, who has shown flashes. He struggled with some rookie mistakes. He has trouble shedding blocks here and there, but he has shown flashes of playing really, really well. He also has a bright future. A tough loss for them was Eric Armstead. He's down for the season, I think, after this past game, which was big. He's another pretty good prospect for them on the defensive line. But they also still have Reuben Foster, who came back. It sucks because Reuben Foster was one of the players that I wanted the Eagles to draft. And
me too.
Yeah, he was my pick for defensive rookie of the year. He got hurt week one. And he was playing so well in that first quarter of that week one game too. But he got hurt week one, came back against the Cowboys, and then suffered another injury, this time to his ribs. So I don't know. The injury report for the Niners wasn't out before we started the show, so I'm not sure what the injury report looks like for them. Who knows if Reuben Foster will play? But if he does, he's someone to really look out for. They have other pieces in the secondary. The secondary is probably their weakest part of their defense. Their safeties are pretty good, not great. They have a trio of safeties there. Jaquiski Tart, who's good. He gets a vote as one of the top names that I love to say in the league. Jaquiski Tart. It's a good name, but he's a good young guy that is looking like he's going to take Eric Reid's starting spot after this season. I don't think they're going to re-sign Eric Reid, but Eric Reid is still there making plays. Sorry, I mixed them up. Is it Eric Reid? Yeah, no, I had it right. Eric Reid, sorry. And then Jimmy Ward's on the other side as their free safety. He's playing well too. Rashard Robinson is a decent young corner that they have, but they don't really have anything else in terms of secondary. So the defense has shown flashes, but they've also been very inconsistent. And their offense is what it is. They have Carlos Hyde, who I think is still one of the best running backs in the league, but he gets overlooked because he's been on bad 49ers teams. I think that the wide receivers, they fill roles. Garcon at this point in his career is a really good number two, but as a number one, he's not going to really strike fear into any defenses as a number one, as a top guy, but that's what he is now for the Niners. Marquise Goodwin, he's track star. He deep elite speed at that position, and he got a good number of targets last week, but again, he besides being a speedster, he doesn't really have great hands or anything else like that. And then George Kittle, their tight end, who's been coming along past couple of games, he's starting to show flashes. He has really good athleticism, but he still has to fine tune parts of his game. He's still an underrated route runner, but he still has a lot of drops a lot of drops that he's got to fix. So that offense and that defense, they show flashes, and that's why they've been in so many close games up until the Cowboys game, because they show flashes and they're a very well coached team, but the talent's just not there. It's not there yet, and I don't want to say that the Eagles can come into this game and just like win easily without even trying, because that's not the case. A well coached team like the Niners can upset the Eagles, so they have to be very close of not. They have to be very careful of not becoming complacent and overlooking the Niners, because Niners can surprise them. But if the Eagles play their best game, I just don't see the Niners having the talent to beat the Eagles on a 1 p.m. game in the East Coast. So that's my prediction. I think that my player spotlight for this week is going to be Wendell Smallwood. I think that for some reason, I don't know what it is, but him playing last week, he had some really good runs last week. And I think the Eagles are going to give him more touches this week. And I think that in the second half, I think the way the game plan is going to go is you're going to see the Eagles run the ball in the second half if they have that big lead. They're going to put an emphasis on the ground game, tire out that defense. And I think Wendell Smallwood is going to have one or two big plays here, whether in the passing game or in the run game with a big run. So that's my gut feeling on who's going to be the spotlight player this week.
So just a little piece of interesting information, or maybe not that interesting, but I think it is. I was trying to look up the injury report for the 49ers. There's a couple names on here, but it's nothing that's not expected, guys that have been out. There's no update that I see on Reuben Foster or anybody significant that you were just discussing. But Kyle Shanahan was asked in his meeting with the media, the Eagles losing tackle Jason Peters. Fuck, I got the Dolphins in my mind. The Eagles losing tackle Jason Peters. Would you expect them to reach out maybe after this game to see if tackle Joe Staley is available in a trade, and would you entertain it? He says, quote, I haven't really thought about what they would do. Joe's a guy that I definitely want here and definitely a guy I wouldn't want to lose by any means. I'm not going to sit here if anybody called for any one of our players. It's not like you just hang up the phone. If people want to offer the world, you've always got to listen. You've got to always try to think what's going to help your team and make your team better. To lose a guy like Joe Staley, that wouldn't be something I'd be excited about. So that'd have to take a whole lot. So, I mean, for what it's worth, you can always take what coaches and team presidents and general managers say with a grain of salt, but he's saying it's going to take a lot to get him, which, I mean, we kind of figured if they do move him and we were to go after him, we knew that anyway. So we'll see. I mean, it's an interesting conversation piece. I wouldn't doubt this week that Howie's going to be in there at least having a conversation about what it would take. They could tell us Vaitai is going to be the solution all they want, but if you got a chance to get him and for something that we can reasonably get him for, Howie's going to pull the trigger. He'll figure out cap space and every other bullshit thing that he does at another time. So I definitely think this is a W this week. I don't know that, aside from the defense, I know they have a good young defense. I don't know that they faced an offense like ours, with the exception of Dallas, which obviously we saw what happened there. I don't expect to win this game by 30 points. But I do believe that the defense is going to be shut down. I have the Eagles winning this game 24-10.
And I have the Eagles winning 36-13.
Okay.
Not exactly 30 points, but I it's not like it's not that I'm disrespecting the Niners. My prediction is based off what the Cowboys did, and I said, okay, they beat them 40-10. I think the Eagles are going to try to beat them similarly to how the Cowboys did. So I'm going to take a shot in the dark and say 36.
I'm going to bump it. I'm going to bump it to 27 just because I think that we're going to score on more possessions than I'm giving us credit for. So I'm going to go 27-10. So I mean, that's it. That's our preview. Obviously, next week we're going to get back to doing our regular night of Tuesday. Charles, anything you want to plug? You want to plug your social media?
Yeah, as always, follow me on Twitter. Chucks Maranan, that's ChuxMaranan. Again, ChuxMaranan. My blog, which I have, like I mentioned earlier, I have a new post up there yesterday. And I talk about the Eagles' injuries and the next man up. So that's chucksmaranan.blogspot.com. Check me out. Check out my post. Give it a read, and appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to plug my Twitter, and obviously my Twitter and my Instagram are @HeelChrome. I want to also plug A2D Radio's Twitter. It's A2D Radio_com. I'll have to look at their Instagram. I think it might be the same, but I'll have to check that. But you can definitely follow them on Twitter. They're on Facebook. A lot of different outlets. Please make sure that you guys check them out. Get familiar. I'm telling you, like we said earlier, you're going to enjoy a lot of the content that they put up. Doesn't matter what kind of a fan you are. They put Philly sports stuff up. They put stuff that's not Philly sports. So especially with World Series stuff, there's a lot of that's been posted. So, yeah, that's it, guys, this week. Charles, thank you again for joining us. It's been a wonderful week for us, buddy.
Exciting things to come. And
yes.
Again, thank you to everyone for listening to us two guys ramble about the Eagles. Appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, guys, absolutely. Again, thank you to Birds of a Feather. Thank you to our family and friends. Thank you to A2D Radio. Thank you to everybody who has kind of jumped on and been supportive, checked out some things, participated in posts, whether it's ours, the A2D Radio ones. Please continue to do that. With that said, and let's, I guess, plug our thing here. It's I didn't even plug our own Twitter @BOAF1933. We haven't been super active just because I think, I don't know, I'm doing like I got to give you access to it, but I've been kind of just doing a wait and see. Um,
Yeah, with A2D, yeah,
Considering
just
it's fresh with A2D, I wanted to make sure. I don't want to put anything out there until I know where we're at with them. So now that we know, I'm sure we'll start to get more active. Maybe this week we'll do a little live tweeting. But with that said, thank you guys for joining us. Again, we'll be back next week, Tuesday. I will post on social media what time we are going to be on. If you want to watch live, if not, we're going to share it on Facebook, and you can also catch it on demand here on YouTube. With that said, thank you guys. Enjoy the game this week, and we'll smell you later.